Last year, I had the unique opportunity to be the cinematographer for a short film in St. Petersburg, Russia. This was my first time shooting a film overseas with an international cast and crew. It was a really exciting project and an amazing experience. It also came with a very unique set of both creative and technical challenges, and that is what I wanted to dive into today. Welcome to Shots with Katherine. Today's quote of the day: May the Force be with you. Star Wars, another set of classic movies that I have missed out on mostly, but not entirely. I saw one of the original trilogy, and then a couple years ago, I saw one of the first new ones. It was the first new one. I remember because I went to the movie theater with a friend. We were trying to see The Revenant, and we get there, and The Revenant is sold out, and we just trekked 20 minutes through the snow to get to the movie theater, and we were peeved. We were not looking forward to making that trek back, and the only other thing that was playing in roughly the same window was Star Wars, and so we went and saw that instead. I have a friend who very kindly offered to be my Star Wars guide and take me through all of the movies that I've missed, and I was really looking forward to watching them with him, but unfortunately now, social distance, so that's on hold. Anyways, shooting a film in Russia. I'm half Russian, and I have family over there. I've been to Russia a couple times, and I speak it pretty fluently. So last year, at the end of 2018, beginning of 2019, I went to Moscow for a month. I joke that I was getting so sick of sunlight that I ran away to Moscow so I wouldn't have to see it at all for a month. And it pretty much worked. It was fantastic. It was snowy and cold and beautiful, and as somebody who loves cold, snowy weather, I was in heaven. But while I was there, I had the incredible opportunity to shoot a film with a friend of my cousin's who lives in St. Petersburg and who is a film and theater director. It was quite fortuitous circumstances. Apparently her friend had a story, a cast, and a crew, but no DP, so we took a train to St. Petersburg for a day and a half to shoot this film. So without giving away too much of the plot, this film was inspired by a magical realism short story. About 90% of it took place on a subway train. That was the first challenge that we had to address. I mentioned this in my first episode, and you'd think that it would be really difficult and really expensive to get a permit to shoot a short film on a subway train. As it turns out, not in St. Petersburg. The craziest part of the whole thing was that the director applied for this permit to get permission to shoot on a train car, and within less than a week, she had this permit, and I don't think it cost her anything. I was dumbfounded. I just thought that was so funny when you compare that to the experience of trying to get film permits in the United States. After that shoot, I even kept that permit for a while as a souvenir, just so that on tough days I could look at it and reminisce about that one time when getting a film permit was not a pain in the ass. So all around us while we were shooting, there was the everyday hustle and bustle of a train station. The train scenes had no dialogue, so we were able to work with that. But if there had been any dialogue-heavy train scenes, we would have totally had to rethink our approach. Thankfully, most people were pretty respectful. Oftentimes, when I've been on a set in the U.S. and we're shooting outside or in any sort of location where we might get random passers-by, there's usually a lot more curiosity. People asking, "Oh, what are you shooting? Can I be in your movie? Ha ha ha!" Or just trying to hang around and watch. And that was very different shooting in Russia. I was honestly a little bit surprised by how few people seemed to really care what we were doing or were even interested in the fact that we were shooting a movie. Fun fact, the Russian word for movie is kino. So if you've ever worked on a film set, then you've probably seen one of these guys. Every time I see one of those, that's what I think of. Movie in Russian. Alright, so enough with the technical and logistical challenges. Now, let's get down to the creative. In this film, the protagonist finds herself on the train ride of her life. The whole idea of these scenes in the train station and on the train were for them to be very disorienting and unsettling. This film had very little dialogue. I think there were 2 lines in the entire thing. So this film really hinged on strong visuals to tell the story. For a majority of the film, the protagonist is essentially towing the boundary in this world that's between the world of the living and between the world of the dead. And in this film, there were essentially 3 different worlds, 3 different timelines, so to speak. We wanted to make them all very visually different. First there was reality, and then there was in between, and then there were the flashback memory scenes. The story starts out with the heroine finding herself in an unfamiliar train station, and she ends up on a train. She's disoriented, and she's in this world that's sort of in between the world of the living and in between the world of the dead. Visually, I wanted to convey how this character was feeling, this anxiety, this discomfort, and I wanted this world to really seem alien and uncomfortable. And to do that, I chose to shoot these scenes in a somewhat jarring combination of wider shots and close-ups, so that the composition and framing and blocking of the shots themselves would convey those feelings, but then also cutting them together, that's jarring, which further adds to this disorienting, messy feeling of this in-between place. And for those scenes also, I used a lot of handheld, and there was a lot of movement, so that the audience would feel like they were really there in that world with her. In contrast, the reality shots were more natural and just a little bit warmer. And we also had these flashback scenes, these memories, because the protagonist, she's able to see the memories of some of the people that she encounters on the train. If you're trying to pull up a memory, any memory, it's probably not crystal clear. It's probably a little bit disjointed. You don't necessarily remember every single detail perfectly. The thing about memories is that they are a little bit hazy and they can be a little bit confusing. But at the same time, we didn't want to mix the feeling of the memories in these flashbacks with any of the feelings from the world that the heroine was in. So we needed to find a way to present these memories in a way that still made them feel like memories, but without getting too similar stylistically to the confusion of what we were shooting on the train. Somehow, even with all of these challenges, the noise and having to shoo away random bystanders as we were trying to shoot, we did it, and we shot this film. It's still in post, and I'm super excited to see how it turns out. And hey, if you're having trouble getting location permits for your next film, you ever consider shooting in St. Petersburg? Hope everybody out there is staying healthy and having an awesome day. Any questions, comments, hate mail, leave them in the comments or slide into my DMs. Until next time.